Admiral Jeho Park stood at the large window of his command ship, the Star Voyager. He watched the stars shine against the dark space. His ship was the biggest and most powerful in the Galactic Dominion's fleet. The blue and silver metal of its hull sparkled under the light of nearby stars. "Admiral, all systems are ready for our patrol," said Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim from behind him. Her voice was calm and professional, just like all Dominion officers. Jai-Ho nodded without turning around. This was just another normal day for him. The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for over 5,000 years. They were the most advanced civilization anyone knew. Their ships could travel faster than light. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their computers could think better than any living being. "Set course for the outer systems," Jai-Ho ordered. He finally turned to face the bridge crew. 20 officers sat at their stations, all wearing the dark blue uniforms of the Dominion fleet. Each one was from the Tok species, tall with light gray skin and large eyes that could see in the dark. They were proud to be the most advanced species in the galaxy. The Star Voyager moved smoothly through space. Its engines made almost no sound. This was the result of thousands of years of perfect engineering. Ji-Ho walked to his command chair and sat down. He looked at the large screen in front of him that showed their path through space. "Admiral, would you like to review the patrol schedule?" asked Commander Min-Ji Ryu. She held a datapad in her hands. Min-Ji was one of the youngest commanders in the fleet, but she always followed the rules perfectly. "Yes, show me," Jai-Ho said. He looked at the schedule. It was the same as always. Check the outer systems, show the Dominion's power, and make sure everyone followed the rules. The Dominion had made these rules to keep peace in the galaxy. All other species accepted this because the Dominion was stronger and smarter than them. As Jai-Ho read the schedule, a memory came to his mind. His teacher at the Fleet Academy had once told him, "We reached the top of civilization hundreds of years ago. Now our job is to keep everything perfect and peaceful." Jai-Ho had believed these words his whole life. The ship passed by a colony world. The people there lived simple lives. They were not as advanced as the Dominion, but they were happy under Dominion rule. Ji-Ho watched the green and blue planet through his window. Everything was in order, just as it should be. "Status report," Jai-Ho called out to his crew. "All systems working at 100% efficiency," said Lieutenant Kim. "No unusual activities in nearby sectors," reported Commander Ryu. "Good," Jai-Ho said. He felt proud. This was how things had been for thousands of years. The Dominion kept the galaxy safe and orderly. They had solved all the big problems. They had answered all the important questions. They were the greatest civilization that would ever exist. Little did Jai-Ho know that far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, a species called humans was about to prove him very wrong. But for now, he sat in his perfect ship, with his perfect crew, believing that nothing in the galaxy could surprise him anymore. The Star Voyager continued its patrol, its engines humming quietly in the vast darkness of space. Ji-Ho Park, like all Dominion admirals before him, watched over his part of the galaxy with absolute confidence. The Tok species had reached the peak of evolution and technology, or at least, that's what they thought. "Prepare for light speed," Jai-Ho ordered. The ship's engines powered up, ready to carry them to the next sector of their endless patrol. No one on the bridge doubted their place in the universe. No one questioned their superiority. No one imagined that everything they believed was about to change. Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim sat at her scanning station on the Star Voyager, watching the numbers and patterns on her screen. She had done this job for 5 years, and nothing unusual ever happened. But today it was different. Her screen showed energy readings she had never seen before. "Admiral Park," she called out, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm detecting strange energy signals from Section 7B. Admiral Jai-Ho Park walked to her station. He looked at her screen with a small frown. The energy patterns didn't match anything in the Dominion's vast database. "Contact Dr. Yuna Lee. The Admiral ordered. "We need a xenobiology team to investigate this." Dr. Lee arrived on the bridge 20 minutes later. She was shorter than most talk, but her mind was sharp. She looked at the readings and her large eyes widened with interest. "These patterns suggest artificial technology," she said, "but they're different from anything we know. We should investigate closer." The Star Voyager changed course toward the strange signals. As they got closer, their long-range cameras showed several ships moving through space. They were smaller than Dominion ships and looked less elegant. Their hulls were dark gray and showed signs of repairs. "Primitive design," Commander Minju Ryu said with a smile. "They must be a young species." Dr. Lee wasn't so sure. She watched the ships with great interest. "Their movement patterns are very efficient," she said. "And look at how they communicate with each other. It's different." Admiral Park ordered the Star Voyager to approach the unknown ships. He prepared to send the standard first contact message that the Dominion had used for thousands of years. But before he could send the message, one of the unknown ships sent them a greeting first. It came in multiple formats and languages, showing they were ready to communicate in many different ways. "Interesting," Dr. Lee said. "They prepared for different types of communication. That shows good thinking." The message was simple. "Greetings from humanity. We come in peace and wish to open diplomatic channels." Admiral Park sent back the Dominion's standard response, expecting the humans to be impressed by their advanced technology. Instead, the humans replied with questions about the Dominion's technology, culture, and society. They weren't afraid or overly impressed. They were curious. "They call their planet Earth," Dr. Lee reported as she studied the data the humans shared. "They've only had space travel for a few hundred years. But look at how much they've achieved in that time." The human ships moved closer, showing no fear of the much larger Star Voyager. Their captains spoke with confidence and asked intelligent questions. They even offered to share their own technology and knowledge. Admiral Park watched all this with growing surprise. These humans were nothing like the other species the Dominion had found over the years. Most new species were either scared of the Dominion or tried to prove they were strong. The humans just wanted to learn and share. "Dr. Lee," Admiral Park said quietly, "what do you think of them?" Dr. Lee looked up from her data screens. "They're fascinating, Admiral. Their technology is different from ours, but not inferior. They solve problems in ways we never thought of. And they're so eager to learn." As they talked, more human ships arrived. Each one was slightly different from the others, showing that humans kept trying new designs. This was strange to the Dominion, who had used the same perfect designs for centuries. "Should we treat them as a primitive species?" Commander Rio asked. "No," Dr. Lee said firmly. "They may be young, but they are not primitive. I think we might have a lot to learn from them." Admiral Park nodded slowly. For the first time in his long career, he felt uncertain about what to do next. These humans didn't fit into any of the Dominion's standard categories. They were something new, something different. And they were just getting started. Captain Sun Wukang stood in the observation room of the Dominion space station, watching the human ships arrive for the technology exchange meeting. He had studied the reports about humans for weeks, but their ships still confused him. Each one looked different from the others, as if humans couldn't decide on the best design. "They waste so much time trying new things," he said to his assistant. "Why don't they just use the perfect designs we already have?" His assistant didn't answer because at that moment, something strange happened. The human ships disappeared. They simply vanished from space. Then, 3 seconds later, they appeared again at a different spot. Sun Wu rushed to his computer terminal. "That's impossible," he said. "Our sensors show they traveled faster than light, but they didn't use any known jump technology." The humans called it the skip drive. When Sun Wu asked how it worked, the human engineers happily explained it. They had found a way to move through space that the Dominion had never even thought about. It wasn't better or worse than Dominion technology. It was just completely different. "But how did you discover this?" Sunwoo asked the human engineer team. "Oh, we tried lots of different ideas," one engineer said. "Most of them failed, but we kept trying new things until we found something that worked." This was strange to Sunwoo. The Dominion only used ideas that were proven to work. They never wasted time with failed experiments. But the humans seemed to learn from their failures. Later that day, Sunwoo watched the humans repair one of their ships. Instead of using standard repair robots like the Dominion, they sent people in special suits to fix things by hand. It looked messy and dangerous, but it worked surprisingly well. "Why do you do repairs this way?" Sunwoo asked. "Because every problem is different," a human mechanic explained. "Robots are good for standard repairs, but humans can think of new solutions when unexpected problems happen." Sunwoo wrote all this in his report to Admiral Park. The humans had fewer rules and less perfect technology than the Dominion, but they could solve problems in ways that the Dominion never considered. The biggest surprise came when the humans showed their computer systems. The Dominion used huge, perfect computers that could think about millions of things at once. The humans used smaller, simpler computers, but they used them in clever ways that no one had thought of before. "Your computers are very advanced," a human scientist said to Sunwoo, "but sometimes simpler tools used in smart ways work better." That evening, Sunwoo sat in his office, trying to understand everything he had seen. The Dominion had always believed that their way was the best way, the only way, but the humans showed that there were many different ways to solve the same problem. He looked out his window at the human ships. They weren't as beautiful as Dominion ships. They weren't as perfect, but they could do things that Dominion ships couldn't do. They could change and adapt quickly. Maybe, Sunwoo thought, being perfect isn't as important as being able to change and grow. He started writing his final report to Admiral Park. The humans weren't trying to be better than the Dominion. They were just trying new things, learning from mistakes, and finding their own way to solve problems. And somehow, that made them more interesting, and perhaps more dangerous, than any species the Dominion had ever met. Ambassador Du Young Choi walked through the halls of the human space station called Unity. Everything about this place confused him. The station had both military and civilian areas. Children played in special rooms while scientists worked nearby. Some areas were very organized, while others looked almost messy with personal items on display. "This is our main recreation area," said his human guide, showing him a large room. Du Young watched in shock as humans ran on moving machines, lifted heavy weights, and climbed artificial walls. "Why do they do these difficult things when they don't have to?" he asked his assistant quietly. "Humans call it staying fit and having fun," his assistant explained. "They say it keeps them healthy and happy." The next room was even more surprising. It was a simulation room where humans practiced dangerous activities like skiing, surfing, and mountain climbing. In the Dominion, people avoided danger, but humans seemed to seek it out. "Would you like to try the beginner's climbing wall?" the human guide asked kindly. "No, thank you," Du Young said quickly. He couldn't understand why anyone would climb a wall for fun. Later that day, Du Young attended a human sporting event called basketball. Two teams competed against each other, running, jumping, and throwing a ball. The crowd cheered and shouted. Some people looked happy, while others looked upset when their team lost. "This is how humans relax," Du Young asked his assistant. "They say competition makes them stronger," his assistant said, "but they also work together very well when they need to." This was true. Du Young had seen humans argue strongly about small things, then work perfectly together on important projects. The Dominion valued peace and agreement above all else, but humans seemed to think that friendly competition made them better. During dinner, Du Young watched humans eat different foods from many cultures. They tried new things and shared their meals with others. In the Dominion, everyone ate the same perfect, healthy meals every day. "Ambassador," a human official said to him, "would you like to try this dish? It's called pizza." Do-young looked at the strange food. In his many years as an ambassador, he had always followed the rules and avoided unnecessary risks. But something about the human's way of life made him curious. "Yes," he said slowly, "I would like to try it." The pizza was different from anything he had eaten before. It wasn't perfectly balanced like Dominion food, but it was delicious in its own way. That night, Du-young wrote his report to the Dominion Council. "Humans are full of contradictions," he wrote. "They compete and cooperate. They take risks and plan carefully. They follow rules and break them. They are not perfect like us, but their imperfection gives them strength. They are always trying new things, always changing, always growing." He looked out the station window at Earth, glowing blue and green in space. The Dominion had thought they knew everything about civilization, but humans showed them that there were many ways to live, many paths to follow. "Perhaps," he wrote in his personal notes, "we have been wrong about what makes a civilization great. Perhaps being perfect is not as important as being alive, curious, and willing to grow." Admiral HFY Park received the emergency message at midnight station time. The Vex had appeared from deep space, attacking both Dominion and human territories. Their ships were unlike anything the Dominion had seen before, darker than space itself and shaped like giant arrowheads. He rushed to the command center of Star Voyager, where his crew already worked at their stations. The main screen showed 3 Dominion colonies under attack. The Vex ships moved in perfect formations, destroying everything in their path. "Send in the defense fleet," HFY ordered. He watched as the Dominion's best ships moved to protect their colonies. These ships had kept peace in the galaxy for thousands of years. Surely they would stop the Vex too. But something was wrong. The Vex ships absorbed the Dominion's energy weapons like they were nothing. Their armor seemed to repair itself after missile hits. Standard Dominion battle tactics didn't work against them. "Admiral," Lieutenant Hae-Nul Kim called out, her voice shaking. "We've lost contact with Colony 7. The Vex destroyed all our ships there." HFY felt something he hadn't felt in his entire career. Fear. The Dominion's perfect weapons and perfect tactics were failing. They had not faced a real enemy in so long that they had forgotten how to adapt to new threats. Then a message came from the human territories. Their colonies were under attack too, but they were fighting back differently. Human ships moved in unpredictable patterns. They used old-fashioned weapons like physical missiles alongside new technology. They fought dirty, using tricks and traps. "Sir," Commander Min-ji-ryu said, "the humans are asking for a joint meeting. They say they might have a way to fight the Vex." HFY thought about his options. The Dominion had always solved its problems alone. Asking for help would mean admitting they weren't perfect. But as he watched another Dominion ship explode on the screen, he knew he had to make a choice. "Tell them we'll meet," he said, "and send all the data we have about the Vex attacks." The humans responded quickly. They had already started studying the Vex's attack patterns and finding weaknesses. Their scientists worked alongside their soldiers, creating new weapons and strategies on the spot. "The Vex expect us to fight like the Dominion," a human admiral explained in the emergency meeting. "They've studied your tactics, but if we work together, we can surprise them. We humans are good at surprising people." HFY looked at his fellow Dominion officers. Their perfect uniforms and perfect manners suddenly seemed less important than survival. The humans weren't perfect, but they knew how to face new challenges. "We need their help," he said to his officers. "Our way isn't working. We must learn to adapt, or we will not survive." That evening, HFY stood at his usual spot by the window. But instead of feeling pride in the Dominion's perfection, he felt something new, hope. Not because they were perfect, but because they were finally ready to change. The Vex were still out there, destroying worlds. But now the Dominion would face them with humanity's help. Together, they might find a way to win, not through perfection, but through adaptation, creativity, and the willingness to try new things. Commander Min-ji-ryu walked into the new Joint Command Center, where humans and Dominion officers worked together. The room buzzed with activity as both species shared information about the Vex attacks. She found her assigned partner, Colonel James Chen, studying battle maps on a large screen. "The Vex always attack in the same pattern," Minji said, pointing to the screen. "They send 3 ships first, then bring in their larger vessels. That's exactly why we shouldn't defend the same way every time," James replied. He moved some ship markers around on the map. "Look what happens if we change our response each time they attack." Minji watched as James showed different battle plans. The humans called it asymmetric warfare, fighting in unexpected ways. It went against everything she had learned at the Dominion Academy, but she had to admit it made sense. "Your ships are stronger than ours," James explained. "But the Vex expect that strength. They don't expect tricks and surprises. We can use that against them." Together, they created new battle strategies. The Dominion's powerful ships would pretend to follow their usual patterns, but human ships would hide behind them, ready to strike from unexpected directions. They called it Operation Shadow Strike. "It's not a perfect plan," Minji said, worried about all the things that could go wrong. "Perfect plans are usually the first to fail," James said with a smile. "The best plan is one that can change when things go wrong." As they worked, Minji noticed how the humans handled problems. When something didn't work, they didn't give up. They tried new ideas, learned from mistakes, and kept going. They even seemed to enjoy the challenge. The Dominion's weapon makers worked with human engineers to create new weapons. The humans suggested putting old-style explosive weapons inside high-tech energy shields. "Sometimes the old ways work best," they said. The Dominion engineers were shocked, but they tried it anyway. Minji sent daily reports to Admiral Park. "The humans fight differently than us," she wrote. "They don't try to be perfect. They try to be unpredictable, and it works." One day, their sensors detected a small group of Vex ships testing the defenses of a human colony. It was time to try their new strategies. "Remember," James told the Joint Fleet, "stick to the plan until something goes wrong. Then use your best judgment." Minji watched from the command center as human and Dominion ships moved together. The Dominion ships approached the Vex in their usual perfect formation. The Vex responded exactly as expected. Then the human ships appeared from behind a moon, attacking from an angle the Vex didn't expect. The battle was short but intense. When it ended, the Vex ships were destroyed, and their fleet had only lost 2 small ships. "This is just the beginning," James said as they watched the rescue ships collect survivors. "The Vex will learn and adapt. But now so can we." Minji looked around the command center. Humans and Dominion officers celebrated together, already planning improvements to their strategy. She realized that the Dominion had been wrong about perfection. True strength came from being able to change, learn, and grow. Tactical Officer Jai Yun Song sat at her station on the Star Voyager, watching as hundreds of Vex ships appeared from deep space. This was the largest Vex fleet they had ever seen. The dark ships moved like a giant black cloud, covering the stars behind them. "All ships report ready," she announced to Admiral Park. The combined human-Dominion fleet waited in position. Dominion ships formed a perfect line at the front, their silver hulls gleaming. Human ships hid behind nearby planets and asteroids, waiting to strike. "Send the signal," Admiral Park ordered. "Operation Shadow Strike begins now." Jai Yun pressed the button that would start their carefully planned battle. The Dominion ships moved forward in their usual perfect formation. The Vex responded exactly as expected, spreading out to surround them. "First trap ready," Jai Yun reported. She watched as the Vex ships moved into position. They thought they knew what the Dominion ships would do. They were wrong. Suddenly, the Dominion ships broke their perfect formation. At the same time, human ships jumped out from their hiding places. They attacked the Vex from all directions, using both old and new weapons together. The space around them filled with explosions and energy beams. Jai Yun had never seen such chaos in a battle. The Dominion always fought in organized ways, but this battle looked like a wild dance. Vex ships are confused, she reported. They're trying to return to their standard formation. But the human ships didn't let them. Every time the Vex tried to organize, human ships would attack from new directions. They used nearby asteroids for cover, something the Dominion had never thought to do. Group 7 needs help, Jai Yun called out as she saw several human ships under attack. Admiral Park didn't hesitate. Send the Star Voyager to help them, he ordered. In the past, he would never risk his command ship this way. But he had learned from the humans that sometimes taking risks was necessary. The battle continued for hours. The Vex tried every tactic they knew, but the combined fleet kept changing their strategy. When one plan didn't work, they tried something new. When ships were damaged, they found new ways to fight. The Vex flagship is vulnerable, Jai Yun reported. She watched as human and Dominion ships worked together to attack the massive black ship. The humans had modified some Dominion weapons to work in new ways, making them stronger than before. The Vex flagship exploded in a huge flash of light. Without their leader, the remaining Vex ships began to retreat. The combined fleet chased them, making sure they left human and Dominion space completely. When the battle was over, Jai Yun looked at her screen in amazement. They had won, not because they were perfect, but because they had learned to be unpredictable. The Dominion ships had fought in ways they had never tried before, while the human ships had used Dominion technology in creative new ways. Send the victory signal to all ships, Admiral Park ordered. His voice was proud but different from before. This wasn't the pride of being perfect. This was the pride of learning, changing, and succeeding together. The combined fleet regrouped around the Star Voyager. Human and Dominion ships flew side by side, no longer separated by their differences. They had learned that being different made them stronger when they worked together. Admiral Jai Park stood in the Grand Hall of the new Galactic Unity Center on Earth. 1 year had passed since the victory over the Vex. The massive building combined Dominion elegance with human creativity. Its walls showed scenes from both human and Dominion history, including their recent victory together. As the Dominion's representative to Earth, Jai Ho had watched both civilizations change. The Dominion had learned to experiment with new ideas, while humans had learned to appreciate the value of careful planning. Together, they had become stronger than either could have been alone. The first joint exploration fleet leaves tomorrow, Commander Minji Ryu reported as she walked up to him. She now led the new combined fleet academy, where human and Dominion officers train together. They're using both human and Dominion technology in their ships. Jai Ho nodded with approval. The new ships looked strange to his old eyes. Not perfectly smooth like Dominion ships, but not as rough as human ones. They were something new, combining the best of both designs. Did you ever think we would change so much? He asked Minji. A year ago, we thought we were perfect. Perfect things can't grow, Minji replied, using a human phrase she had learned. And the galaxy is too big to stop growing. They walked through the building together, passing training rooms where young officers from both species learned from each other. In the science labs, human and Dominion researchers worked side by side, trying new ideas that neither would have considered before. Dr. Yoon Ali ran one of these labs. She had discovered that human DNA could adapt faster than any species they had ever seen. Humans aren't perfect, she explained to her students, but they can change quickly when they need to. That's why they survived all their challenges on Earth. In the Technology Center, Captain Sun Wukang worked with human engineers to create new devices. They had learned to combine Dominion precision with human creativity. Sometimes the best solution isn't the perfect one, Sun Wu often said. Sometimes it's the one that can change when it needs to. Ambassador Du Young Choi had helped write the new laws that governed human and Dominion space together. The laws weren't as strict as the old Dominion rules, but they weren't as loose as human ones. They found a middle way that worked for everyone. Jai-Ho stopped at a window overlooking the city. Flying cars moved between buildings in ordered lanes, but not too ordered. Parks full of trees broke up the rows of buildings. It was a city that showed what humans and the Dominion could build together. "We thought we were the galaxy's top dogs," Jai-Ho said quietly. "We were wrong. But being wrong taught us how to be better." A group of children ran past. Human and Dominion kids playing together. They didn't care about being perfect. They were just happy to learn and grow and play. "The Vex might return one day," Minji said. "Or we might face other challenges." "Yes," Jai-Ho agreed. "But we'll face them together. And we'll keep learning and changing, no matter what comes." As the sun set over the city, its light reflected off buildings both old and new, perfect and imperfect, human and Dominion. It was no longer a competition about who was better. It was a partnership that made everyone stronger, ready to face whatever the galaxy might bring next.